Hello, I'm Jody, and I warmly welcome you to Conscious Mind. Today, I have something truly special prepared for you. A motivational Zen story that I've created with much love and thought. This story is not just a tale, it's a journey. A journey through the mountains of understanding, across the valleys of wisdom, and under the sky of deep comprehension. It's the story of a monk, a spiritual path, and the universal lessons we can learn from his journey. As I narrate this story, I invite you to let yourselves be carried away by my voice. Allow each word, each sentence, to guide you through an inner landscape of peace and reflection. Imagine the scenes, feel the emotions, and ponder the messages. This is not just a story to listen to, but to experience. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and prepare to embark on this journey with me. Welcome to the story of a monk, a Zen journey to enlightenment. In the heart of a bustling city, where skyscrapers rise like steel giants, and traffic flows like an endless river, lived Tenzin. Each morning, he joined the tide of suits and ties, lost in the labyrinth of streets and avenues. His life was a reflection of modern success. A respectable job at a large company, an elegant apartment, and an enviable social circle. But at night, while the city slept and the stars struggled to shine through the light pollution, Tenzin lay awake, immersed in deep thoughts and unanswered questions. One night, something changed. Tenzin had a dream that felt more real than reality itself. He saw himself in an ancient monastery, nestled in the serene Himalayan mountains. The air was pure and fresh, a total contrast to the polluted air of the city. In his dream, he walked barefoot on the fresh grass, his feet touching the damp earth. The monks, dressed in saffron robes, moved in silence, their serene faces radiating a calm that Tenzin had never experienced before. Upon waking, the image of the monastery remained etched in his mind. That day, as he walked the same streets, saw the same faces, and heard the same sounds, he realized that the life he was leading no longer satisfied him. The vision of the monastery was like a call, an echo of a place where he could find the answers to the questions that haunted him night after night. Tenzin began to question everything. The career he had built, the possessions he had accumulated, even the relationships he had cultivated. all seemed meaningless. The inner voice he had been ignoring for years grew stronger, urging him to seek a different path, one that led to inner peace and true understanding. One afternoon, after a long day at work, Tenzin stopped amid the hustle and bustle of the city. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, he could hear the soft whisper of the wind in the mountains and the solemn chanting of the monks. In that instant, he made a decision that would change his life forever. He would say goodbye to his life in the city and seek the monastery of his dream, a place where he hoped to find the wisdom and peace he so longed for. With that resolution in his heart, Tenzin began to prepare for the most important journey of his life. A journey not just to a distant destination, but into the depths of his being. Tenzin found himself on the threshold of a new world. He had left behind the city, with its deafening noises and dazzling lights, to enter the silence of the mountains. He walked winding paths, each step taking him further from the life he knew and closer to an unknown existence. The journey was long and arduous. Days slipped by between exhausting walks and nights under a starry sky, with only his thoughts for company. With each kilometer traveled, Tenzin felt the layers of his old life peeling away, leaving him lighter, freer. Finally, after weeks of travel, he arrived at the monastery he had seen in his dream. It was a simple place, built with ancient stones and surrounded by gardens tended by patient hands. The monks welcomed him with serene smiles and soft words, as if they had been waiting for him all this time. Tenzin began his new life as a novice. He learned to rise before dawn to meditate, to work in the gardens, and to study ancient texts on philosophy and spirituality. But the most difficult and important lesson was that of detachment. Detachment was not simply renouncing his material possessions, something he had already done by leaving the city. It was an emotional and mental detachment, a process of letting go of the desires, expectations, and illusions he had accumulated throughout his life. Tenzin learned that detachment did not mean indifference or rejection of the world, but a profound understanding of the impermanence of all things. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Tenzin immersed himself in monastic life. The daily practices and teachings of the elder monks showed him a path to inner peace and harmony with the world. He discovered beauty in simplicity, the value of patience, and the depth of stillness. The old Tenzin, the city man, gradually faded away, giving way to a more conscious and connected being. In moments of silence, in the warm light of dawn, or the coolness of twilight, he felt a connection to something greater than himself, a sense of belonging to a universal whole. The chapter of his life in the city had closed, and a new one, full of possibilities and learning, had opened. In the monastery, in the heart of the mountains, Tenzin found not just a physical refuge, but a home for his spirit. In the monastery, surrounded by the majesty of the mountains, Tenzin began to understand the true essence of discipline. It was not about imposed rigidity, but about a commitment to oneself, a promise of perseverance on the path to self-knowledge and enlightenment. Tenzin's days began before dawn, when the sky was still stained with stars. He joined the other monks for the day's first meditations, a practice that cleared the mind and prepared the spirit for the hours ahead. Although it was initially hard for him to concentrate, over time he learned to calm the whirlwind of thoughts and immerse himself in a state of deep serenity. After meditation, hours of work in the gardens and in the monastery's kitchen followed. Tenzin learned to find meditation in every task, whether it was tending to the plants or preparing meals. These activities, which initially seemed mundane, transformed into lessons about the importance of serving others and finding joy in the simplest actions. Discipline in the monastery also meant rigorous study. Tenzin spent long hours reading and discussing ancient texts that delved into the principles of Buddhism. These studies were challenging, full of paradoxes and deep reflections on the nature of reality, suffering, and the path to liberation. As time went on, Tenzin began to face his own internal challenges. There were days when doubt and frustration assailed him, moments when old concerns from his previous life emerged like shadows. But instead of running from these emotions, he confronted them with the help of his teachers, learning to accept and understand them as part of his journey. Tenzin realized that discipline was much more than a mere routine. It was a way to honor his commitment to the spiritual path, a means to strengthen his mind and heart. Every day was an opportunity to grow, to get a little closer to the truth, to polish the mirror of his soul. In those moments of introspection and learning, Tenzin found a peace he had never known. Through discipline, he began to experience flashes of deeper clarity and understanding, glimpsing what might be the beginning of a true inner transformation. As Tenzin delved deeper into monastic life, meditation became the core of his existence. Each day, he immersed himself more in the art of quieting the mind and exploring the vast territories of his consciousness. Meditation was not just a practice. It was a gateway to an inner world of infinite possibilities. In the early light of dawn, when the world still slept under a blanket of serenity, Tenzin sat in silence, crossing his legs and closing his eyes. Initially, his mind resisted, assailed by wandering thoughts and distractions. But over time, he learned to observe these thoughts without attaching to them, letting them flow like leaves on a river. As his practice evolved, Tenzin began to experience states of profound tranquility and moments of acute lucidity. In these moments, he felt connected to something greater than himself, a sense of unity with all that existed. It was as if the barriers between him and the world dissolved, leaving him floating in an ocean of pure consciousness. However, meditation also brought challenges. There were days when he confronted deeply rooted emotions and painful memories. These moments were difficult, but Tenzin knew they were essential for his spiritual growth. With the guidance of his teachers, he learned to face these aspects of himself with compassion and courage, recognizing that each shadow faced was a step toward the light. The more experienced monks taught Tenzin that meditation was much more than sitting in silence. It was a way of living, a constant attitude of mindfulness and presence. Tenzin began to apply meditation in his daily activities, finding a quality of attention and peace, even in the humblest tasks. Over time, Tenzin began to notice subtle changes in his perception. Nature seemed more alive, colors more vibrant, and sounds clearer. He began to see beauty in the ordinary and understand that every moment was an opportunity to be fully present. Meditation taught Tenzin the power of the mind and the importance of nurturing it with positive thoughts and emotions. He discovered that true peace came not from the outside, but from a deep inner understanding and harmony. In this chapter of his life, Tenzin found not just a refuge in meditation, but also an inexhaustible source of wisdom and serenity. Through this practice, he He was paving his way toward a deeper awakening, a journey that was just beginning. In this stage of his journey, Tenzin began to deeply understand the value of compassion. The teachings and daily practices in the monastery focused not only on self-exploration and meditation, but also on the importance of extending kindness and understanding to others. Tenzin became more involved in the monastery's community activities, which included helping those in need and teaching those who visited the monastery in search of spiritual guidance. In these interactions, he discovered the joy and satisfaction that come from serving others without expecting anything in return. As he taught, Tenzin also learned. Each person who came to the monastery was a mirror in which he could see reflected different facets of human life. Listening to the stories, he understood that every human being carries a story of struggle and search for meaning. This understanding opened his heart to deeper levels of empathy and connection. The monastery's teachers emphasized that compassion was not just a passive feeling, but an active action. Tenzin learned that being compassionate meant being present for others, offering help and understanding without judgment, and always acting with kindness and respect. In his meditations, Tenzin began to focus on developing compassion. He practiced metta bhavana, or loving kindness meditation, where he sent wishes of peace, happiness, and well-being to all beings. This practice not only benefited those around him, but also transformed his own heart, filling it with peace and love. Tenzin also experienced how compassion could be challenging. He encountered situations where it was difficult to maintain an open heart, especially in the face of negative or harmful behaviors. But with patience and practice, he learned that true compassion involves understanding that all beings are on their own path of growth and often act from their own pain and confusion. Compassion became the essence of Tenzin's existence. He was no longer just a monk seeking enlightenment for himself. He had transformed into a beacon of light and love for all those around him. This transformation not only enriched his spiritual life, but also gave him a deeper purpose: to help alleviate the suffering of others and guide them on their path to inner peace. In this chapter of his life, Tenzin discovered that true wisdom lies in the compassionate heart. And that by opening his heart to the world, he was taking firm steps toward a deeper understanding of the nature of reality and the true meaning of human existence. As Tenzin immersed himself more in his practice of compassion and teaching, he faced an unexpected challenge that would test his faith and spiritual understanding. One day, news came that his former city had been struck by a massive tragedy. A devastating earthquake had caused widespread destruction and suffering, affecting many people he knew, including his family and friends from childhood. This event shook Tenzin's world. Suddenly, the abstract teachings about suffering and impermanence became a stark reality. He found himself struggling with feelings of pain, helplessness, and guilt for not being there to help his loved ones. This internal struggle was his greatest test, a moment that forced him to confront the nature of suffering in its most tangible and painful form. Tenzin spent days in a state of internal turmoil, his mind tormented by uncertainty and fear. During this time, he withdrew from his duties at the monastery, feeling disconnected from his spiritual practices. Doubt began to creep into his mind. Were his teachings and meditations really serving? How could he face such a magnitude of suffering? In the midst of this emotional storm, one of the senior teachers of the monastery approached him. This teacher, a man of deep wisdom and compassion, listened to Tenzin as he shared his internal conflicts. Instead of offering direct answers, the teacher guided Tenzin through a series of meditations and reflections that helped him see the situation from a different perspective. He reminded Tenzin that suffering is an inescapable part of human existence, and that facing it with courage and compassion is at the core of Buddhist practice. He taught him that although we cannot control external events, we have the power to choose how we respond to them. This response, filled with compassion and wisdom, is what truly matters. Guided by his teacher, Tenzin began to meditate with the intention of sending love and healing to his hometown. Through these practices, he slowly found a sense of peace and purpose. He realized that even though he could not be there physically to help, he could contribute meaningfully through his thoughts, prayers, and meditations. This episode was a turning point for Tenzin. He learned that trials and challenges are an essential part of the spiritual path. Through them, our faith is strengthened, our understanding deepened, and our commitment to the path of compassion and wisdom affirmed. Tenzin emerged from this trial with newfound strength and a renewed determination to live his life as an act of service and love towards all beings. Tenzin found himself navigating waters of profound understanding and acceptance. The trial he faced, the tragedy in his hometown, had been a catalyst for significant spiritual growth. Now, with a renewed perspective, he began to explore the subtler nuances of his spiritual practice and his understanding of life. During the morning meditations, as the sun rose above the mountains bathing the monastery in golden light, Tenzin reflected on the transient nature of existence. These meditations led him to a deep acceptance of impermanence as a fundamental reality, not just as a concept to understand, but as a truth to live by. He realized that embracing impermanence did not mean resignation, but a recognition of the precious nature of each moment. Tenzin also began to see suffering differently. Through his own experiences of pain and loss, and his deep empathy towards the sufferings of others, he came to understand that suffering was an integral part of the path to enlightenment. It was not something to be avoided or feared, but to be understood and transformed. In his daily interactions, both with the monks and with visitors to the monastery, Tenzin radiated a calmness and presence that inspired those around him. His ability to listen and his profound empathy became powerful tools to help others in their own processes of healing and discovery. One of the most significant moments for Tenzin during this time was when a young novice arrived at the monastery, struggling with doubts and questions similar to those he himself had faced years before. Tenzin became a mentor to the young man, guiding him with patience and wisdom. Through this mentorship, he not only helped the novice find his path, but also reaffirmed his own understanding and commitment to his spiritual practice. Tenzin's understanding of the interconnectedness of all things deepened. He began to see how every action, thought, and word had an impact, not only on his own path, but on the world around him. This understanding filled him with a sense of responsibility and purpose, driving him to live with even more mindfulness and compassion. This period in Tenzin's life was marked by a serenity and wisdom that only come with full acceptance and deep understanding. He had learned to find peace, not through the absence of challenges, but in the midst of them, recognizing that each difficulty was an opportunity to grow and deepen his spiritual path. In Tenzin, the quest for enlightenment had transformed into enlightened living, a testament to the transformative power of understanding and acceptance. As the years passed, Tenzin, now a respected and beloved teacher at the monastery, continued his practice and teaching with a depth and wisdom that only time can bring. He had guided many on their spiritual path, sharing the lessons he had learned through his own quest for truth and enlightenment. The monastery, always a place of refuge and learning, had become a home for Tenzin, a sacred space where he had experienced the deepest joys and faced the most challenging trials. But like all things, this chapter of his life was also coming to its natural end. Feeling that his time at the monastery was drawing to a close, Tenzin decided to embark on one final journey. Not a physical one this time, but one of transmission and farewell. He wanted to leave a final teaching, a message that summarized the essence of his experience and wisdom. On a fresh and clear morning, with the first rays of the sun bathing the valley, Tenzin gathered the monastery community. Monks, novices, and visitors came together, knowing this would be a significant moment, an opportunity to receive a final pearl of wisdom from their beloved teacher. Tenzin spoke with a soft but firm voice, imbued with the calmness and serenity he had cultivated through years of practice. Dear friends and fellow travelers on the path, each of you is a witness to the ceaseless flow of life. We have shared moments of learning, reflection, and growth. But like all things, my time here is impermanent, and the moment has come to say goodbye. I want to leave you with a simple but profound message. True peace and happiness are not found in the absence of challenge or suffering, but in our ability to face them with an open heart and a clear mind. Life, with all its joys and sorrows, is our greatest teacher. Embrace each moment, each experience, as an opportunity to learn and grow. Always remember that the light of wisdom and compassion resides in each of you. Do not seek enlightenment somewhere far away or in another person. It is a path that lies within, a journey that each one must undertake in their own heart. I leave you with my love and blessing. May every step you take be a step towards peace, understanding, and deeper love for all beings. With these words, Tenzin bid farewell to the community. His departure was quiet and unassuming, a gentle fading like the last glow of the sun at dusk. Tenzin's legacy continued to live on in those he had taught and guided. His message of peace, understanding, and love resonated in the monastery and beyond, an eternal echo of his wisdom and compassion. And so, the story of Tenzin, the monk who sought and found enlightenment, became a source of inspiration for all those seeking truth and peace on their own path. His life was a testament to the transformative power of love, compassion, and wisdom. A reminder that in the heart of each one lies the light that illuminates the world.